Amsterdam, known for its artistic heritage, elaborate canal system and narrow houses. It's the capital and most populated city of the Netherlands. Home to the Van Gogh Museum, works by Rembrandt and Vermeer at the Rijksmuseum, modern art at the Stedelijk, the Anne Frank Museum, and its red light district, amongst other world famous, only in Amsterdam attractions. But how do you get there? We were travelling from Manchester to Amsterdam as 3 passengers: Sean, my mother, and myself, Axl. My mother is disabled and needs to use a mobility scooter to get around.
Hi, my name's Jade. I'm 50 years of age and I became disabled about 16 years ago, and I've always wanted to travel to Amsterdam.
We were travelling with Easyjet and had to notify the airline in advance of our flight of the weight, make and battery type of the mobility scooter. This would ensure a smooth process and guarantee that the scooter would be able to fly. However, nothing would be easy about our Easyjet experience. When we arrived at Manchester Airport, we had to head to the assistance desk to register the arrival of the scooter.
So before we actually even went to the airport, months before, we had to let the airport know that we would be taking a mobility scooter, small enough for a plane, because of the battery in it. They had to check. So we'd made sure in advance that they knew that we were bringing a mobility scooter.
We were to depart on the Friday at 7:20 p.m. and return on the Tuesday at 10:05 p.m.
So we arrived at the airport at 3:30 in the afternoon. We had to arrive early so we could be fast-tracked and go to the disabled assistants that help people that are disabled to get through. Went through security, no problem, passport checking, no problem. Then we went through to where all the shops are, where you wait for your plane, and there was no problem at all. Everything was going great.
So now we're on duty free. How did you find check-in?
Found check-in quite easy. Everybody says it takes ages, but luckily we got fast-tracked and there was no problems.
Yeah.
None whatsoever, which I thought it would be worse.
Yeah.
I've never been this far into the airport. We've been to the airport for 48 years. This is the furthest we've ever got a scooter party.
These flights were bought as a Mother's Day / birthday present, as Amsterdam is somewhere that my mother has always wanted to go, and it would be her first ever flight.
Hopefully there's no problems. Well, it should go smooth. Fingers crossed it's going smooth up to now, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm dead excited.
The flight had gotten delayed by 40 minutes until 8 p.m. Although the flight was slightly delayed, everything else ran smoothly, and the time had finally come to board the plane.
Here we go.
Boarding the plane?
Oh, getting on the plane now. My dream's about to come true. I just hope it's not a nightmare. There we go.
To board the Easyjet flight, we had to use the disabled access, which consisted of a specialised lift onto the plane.
So they helped me. I went in this machine thing that you sit in, and it takes you up to the plane doors, and then they wheel you to the doors, and then, if you've got your crutch, because there was only a few seats up, I managed to take my crutch to the seat. There was plenty of leg room, the seats were really nice and comfy. Everything just seemed brilliant. It was all going so well.
We were guided to our seats, sat down and readied ourselves for my mother's first ever takeoff.
Here we go. My first ever time on a plane. finally, after 33 years of waiting,
To Amsterdam.
to Amsterdam.
Here we come.
Hopefully.
So we were sat on the plane, come to about 8:45, and the pilot tells us that he can't take off because of the curfew in Amsterdam.
Because of the flight being delayed until 8 PM, we could not fly due to arrival restrictions at the Amsterdam airport. Our flight was cancelled, and we were sent home with no alternative options, other than being told to check the app for an alternative flight, as Easyjet had no on-site customer service team at the airport.
Basically they said, sort it out yourself. So I'm like, what do I do?
I called Easyjet to seek a later flight. They gave no other option, as all flights were booked and nothing was allowed to arrive at Schiphol in Amsterdam until 8 AM the next morning. Easyjet advised me to check their app for an alternative flight. They said that the transfer would be free, however, it may be a different airline that we would fly with. But they did assure me that if we got onto another flight, they would pass the details of the mobility scooter on to assist us on an easy transfer.
Because there's certain batteries you can't fly with, but they have to have 48 hours notice. And with our plane being cancelled, my son had to go on the phone and arrange a flight for us for the next day with a different flight company, KLM. So they told us to come back in the morning at, well, 5 to 6 was the flight, but to get there a few hours early.
We were passed over by Easyjet to a KLM flight. Yet, the details of the mobility scooter were not. Therefore, KLM did not know if they could accommodate the mobility scooter.
Second time.
Second time. So yesterday we was meant to fly at 7:20 PM. The flight got delayed until 8 PM. And as you've seen, we got on the plane and we were sat there ready to go until the pilot came over the intercom and told us that due to restrictions or a curfew in Amsterdam, the plane will not be allowed to land. And so we was forced to rebook and reschedule our flight. Now, this is where the issue arises, because we had to reschedule our flight to another one the next day at 5:55 AM, which was good because that meant we were still able to keep our reservations in terms of museums and things in Amsterdam. We are changing our flight provider from Easyjet to KLM, and that's where the biggest problem comes, because obviously with the mobility scooter, well, they didn't pass over the information from Easyjet to KLM, so they don't know anything about the special requirements that we need, they don't know anything about the special assistance that we need, but most importantly, they don't know the type of battery. Which in our case is a lead acid battery. It's not a lithium, it's a lead acid one. And so we've arrived for our flight early at 3 o'clock, and we've told them of our requirements, and unfortunately customer services are not open until 8 AM. So now they've had to put us again on a later flight, which means we now lose some of our reservations, lose some of our bookings. They are trying their hardest to get us on, but at this point we don't know if we're going to get on the flight now at 9 o'clock while they figure out if we're able to get this lead acid battery on there.
We were forced to miss the 5 AM flight due to the details of the mobility scooter not being communicated by Easyjet to KLM. We then had to wait for the possibility of boarding the next flight at 9 AM. The problem now was that the customer service team at KLM opened at 8 AM, and we had to wait for confirmation on if the scooter could board or not.
I think that the treatment of disabled people, really, isn't it? The way that they've handled a disabled person who's travelling is completely inappropriate. They didn't pass over any of the information that they were required to pass over in order for us to get on the flight without any complications, which is a complete mess up on EasyJet's part. They were responsible for the flight delay, and they left it up to the passengers themselves to rebook and sort everything out themselves. They didn't give anyone any time with special requirements to make those, to address those issues. Yeah, you have to give them 48 hours, and obviously we only had 8, and we didn't get the tickets confirmed until 10:30, by which point all customer services were closed from EasyJet and KLM Airlines. So there was no one for us to talk to, there was no one for us to contact. There's not an EasyJet representative at Manchester Airport. So if you are flying and you are disabled, you know, you are risking a lot, because there's not any support offered to you if your flight is cancelled at a last minute and you had to get put on another flight. There's no support available.
It's making me feel like I'm a problem to them. You know, because I'm disabled, like it's my own fault.
Yeah, that's
Do you know what I mean?
exactly what they should not be making you feel like.
Yeah. I mean, all this was, you know, a present for my 50th birthday last year. More delays, but we're going to do it. We're going to get there. Yeah, I can feel it in my bones.
Quite frankly, I don't feel like the airlines have handled it with the greatest of delicacy. They've been quite dismissive and quite rude to us when it comes to actually communicating what the problem is, helping us get on a flight. You know, it's all ifs and buts. You know, they haven't offered us any solutions. It's all on us to fix all the problems that they've created, and it's disgusting.
Hopefully, the next time this camera comes on, I'll be in the land of tulips and windmills.
9 AM came and they held the flight back for us to await confirmation. They told us that the scooter could board, but not this flight. And so they gave us 2 options. One, that we all travel on the plane now and the scooter travels separately on a later flight. Or 2, Sean and I travel now and my mother travels with her scooter on the next flight. We were given 2 minutes to make the decision, as the plane had to leave. Therefore, we chose the second option, for Sean and I to travel now and my mother to travel later with the scooter, as there would not have been an option to ensure her mobility once we arrived in Amsterdam if we picked the first option.
So then he says I couldn't go, I had to wait till the 5 o'clock plane in the evening from Manchester Airport, and the way they were just messing me about with my scooter made me feel like I was awkward and in the way.
Sean and I then had to run with a flight attendant to board the flight and leave my mother behind in Manchester with hopes that she would fly later on.
So we finally made it to Amsterdam. Jade didn't make it on the first flight. No, we're not joking. We had to leave her behind in what can only be described as a pressure, panicked, last-minute decision where the airline were like, right, 2 of you can get on now if you leave Jade behind.
Well, the flight was meant to leave.
The
flight was meant to leave at 9 o'clock,
Yeah.
and they was waiting for confirmation to see if the scooter could go on because of the complications with the battery. And they got the confirmation at 5 to 9, and they literally made us make a split decision in that moment to say you 2 can go now or not, or no one goes basically.
Yeah, basically.
So we had to get on.
It was easier for Jade to stay, because she could take the scooter on and it wouldn't have to be re-registered for me.
Yeah, because the scooter could not go on that flight, it could only go on the next
later
one.
flight. And
Because at that point, once it had been confirmed,
they didn't have
there was
enough
no one to
tickets
put
for
it on
all
there.
3 of us. So it was either 2 of us go, all 3 of us go and leave the scooter, me and Axl go and Jade comes later, or
No one goes.
no one goes.
Being disabled, it did make me feel like I should just give up and go home, because of the way they were treating me. I felt like nothing. I felt like it was just an inconvenience to them, even though they had a duty of care to look after me. The ladies who were treating us terrible, they really was, and I had to keep hold of the thought of knowing that I'm going to get there in the end. I've waited 33 years for this. I'm not going to let nobody put me off this.
Sean and I had finally arrived in Amsterdam. We checked into the hotel and awaited the arrival of my mother.
Easyjet didn't pass the information on about my mobility scooter, which they had the duty of care to do that for me. So basically they would have left me stranded in the middle of an airport, which they did, because I had to travel on my own for the first time ever, which was very scary, and I had nobody around me, the people I was travelling with, to be with me. I suffered anxiety, and do you know what I mean? It was terrible the way I was treated. "36 hours later, I actually got to Amsterdam and to the hotel, and it was worth it. I arrived on my own. There was someone there at the plane, came to get me, assisted me through security, through checks, took me to the place where I get a taxi from, told the taxi driver where I'm going, and helped me into the taxi. I lost practically a full day there. I lost a night there. I lost a museum there. I had to pay extra for a taxi from the airport, which I got scammed on, which they said it was €70 and charged me €104.
Not 44.
104 euros. To change?
I told she. Ask her she.
Jade?
If we're not in therapy. But I told she, yes.
Be very careful, because they will try and scam you if you look vulnerable.
But I told she, yes.
I'll pay the extra. Whatever.
At 7 PM, albeit a day later and countless complications, we had finally arrived as a group in Amsterdam.
There you go, Mum, you're finally here.
After 36 hours or something.
36 hours and 33 years.
We've got here a day late, but we're here.
We're here.
We can relax now at least.
Mum, whoa!